All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the blueprint of how we handle adversity. We're looking at a core concept from the architecture of resilience. Sometimes the most profound paradigm shifts don't require hundreds of pages of data, right? They just require us to zero in and deeply absorb one absolutely powerful idea. And, well, that's exactly what we're going to do today.
So, to kick things off, the source material poses a really fundamental question. What is resilience? Think about it for a second. Is it some kind of invisible protective shield, a bounce-back mechanism? This one simple question actually sets the entire stage for a total reevaluation of what we think we know about mental endurance.
But before handing us the definitive answer, the text targets this massive, incredibly restrictive assumption, the innate myth. We all know the feeling, right? You see someone weathering a massive storm in their life, and you immediately think, wow, they were just born tough. We treat resilience like it's a biological lottery ticket. We kind of assume that if you didn't magically inherit the grit gene, well, you're out of luck, doomed to crumble. But the source material is here to completely, literally tear that myth down to the studs.
Okay, let's dive into this contrast. An innate skill versus something that can be learned. That false assumption we just talked about, it implies a totally fixed mindset, like a locked door on your potential. But the empowering reality presented by the text just flips this completely on its head. Resilience isn't a fixed trait arbitrarily handed out at birth. No way. It's an open book. It's a dynamic capability that you can actively acquire. The author sets up this stark contrast right away to shift our entire paradigm. And that brings us to the absolute heart of today's explainer. The text states, and I want you to really hear this, resilience is not an innate skill and can be learned through training and persistence. This definitive, unapologetic statement just removes all those convenient excuses we might make about simply not being tough enough. It fundamentally shifts the burden of resilience entirely away from our genetics and places it squarely onto our actions. So the crucial point is, how exactly do we learn it? Well, the text explicitly identifies two active mechanisms here, training and persistence. Notice how these aren't passive states of being, right? They're intentional, daily actions. By isolating these two specific elements, the source material is handing us a highly actionable blueprint for building our own inner strength. So let's break down these two steps. Now, what's really interesting about this first focus, training, is what it implies in literally any other context. I mean, think about it. If you want to run a marathon, you don't just wake up one morning, lace up your shoes, and sprint 26 miles. You'd collapse. You have a structured regimen. You start small, stress your system, recover, and adapt. The text is telling us that resilience operates on that exact same principle. It requires deliberate, structured learning. It's a completely active pursuit where you purposefully practice overcoming friction, day in and day out. And this brings us to persistence, which brilliantly illustrates the other half of the equation. Because let's be real, training without persistence is basically just a brief hobby. Handling stress once doesn't magically make you resilient forever. Persistence is that continuous, unrelenting effort required to make that active training actually stick. When the training gets hard, and when that deliberate practice becomes exhausting or intensely monotonous, and trust me, it absolutely will, persistence is the glue holding the whole shebang together. The text makes it incredibly, unmistakably clear, these two elements absolutely must exist together if you're going to actually learn and maintain resilience over the long haul.
So, what does this all mean for us? Well, the source text has entirely validated your ability to grow. It's proven that you aren't limited by what you were or weren't born with. So the provocative question I really want to leave you with is this. Think about just one small area of friction in your life right now. Just one. How will you apply training and persistence to build your architecture today? You've got the blueprint now, straight from the source material. It's time to start building. See you next time.